All right, I think we are live streaming now, so welcome everybody to this special council meeting. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the voices and images of those participating may be captured as part of this recording. We acknowledge the original custodians of the lands that we're meeting on from across the Shire and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. And welcome any descendants who may be watching this meeting tonight. As councillors, we have all taken an oath to carry out our duties in the best interests of the people of Indigo Shire and to do this in a fair and impartial manner. We're all committed to exercising the council's powers and functions to the best of our skills and judgment. So welcome to this special council meeting. Tonight we are hearing from 5 submitters for the council budget and 1 for the council plan and vision. We've been through a process where we have actually released 7 draft documents to the community, and I'll just list those. The draft 10-year council vision, the draft council plan 21 to 25, the draft 21-22 strategic resource plan, including the 10-year financial plan, the draft 21-22 budget, the draft 21-22 revenue and rating plan, the draft 21-22 operating income and expense by service, and the draft procurement policy 2021. All of these documents have been placed on exhibition from Wednesday the 19th of May to Friday the 11th of June, and feedback was invited from the community. We received 27 submissions regarding the draft council plan and draft community vision, and one of those submitters will be heard tonight. 22 submissions, and I think it was more actually by the end of today, have been received regarding the draft budget. 5 of those submitters have asked to be heard tonight. So obviously we've had a huge amount of community input. These are only the written submissions we received. I do want to reassure the people in our communities that those of you that attended public forums or spoke to councillors or emailed your submissions have also been included in our drafting of this new council plan for the coming term. So we have had a huge amount of community engagement, and I also want to thank a huge thanks to the staff for the absolutely enormous amount of work that's gone into these documents, getting them ready, getting them out to the public, going through all the submissions, running the community forums. Like it's remarkable the amount of work that's gone into this. So I guess on behalf of council, I want to assure our community that we take this very seriously and put a huge amount of resources and work and effort into trying to get this right. Without too much further ado, I guess we could start hearing from our submitters. The first one is from the Into Our Hands Community Foundation, and it's Sarah Thompson who will be speaking to us. So I think Greg is going to let Sarah into the room. Thank you, Greg. And here comes Sarah. Hello, Sarah. All right, Sarah, you're still on mute there, just to give you the heads up. So Sarah, welcome.
Hi.
Hi there. I believe you've been looking at a blank screen waiting to come in.
Yes,
so just thank you very much for coming along to submit to our budget discussion. Just to let you know, there's 7 councillors in the room. I won't go through them all because we're on a very quick time frame. 7 councillors and 3 directors and our governance officer and our CEO. You've got 5 minutes. Please take your submission as read. We've read all the submissions. So you've got 5 minutes to give us, I guess, a clear idea of what it is you're asking for, and I'll let you start anytime now.
all right. Thank you, Mayor O'Connor, and hello, everyone. My name's Sarah Thompson. I work for Into Our Hands Foundation. For those of you that don't know, we're a community foundation that have existed in the region since 2012, and we were born out of the Black Saturday bushfires in 2009, and so through that state government process, they set up the community foundation. The purpose of the presentation tonight is to raise awareness amongst Indigo Shire councillors around Into Our Hands activities and our mechanisms to grow community wealth and grants, and to share with Indigo Shire your individual opportunities and your regional opportunities for transfer of wealth and what this means for your region. we want to talk to you about how Into Our Hands and Council can work more closely together, and why we think Council should support Into Our Hands with this particular initiative and act now. So just to reiterate, and I'll talk as closely to the submission as I can, but the ask to Indigo Shire Council is for $10,000 per annum for a 3-year commitment. And this is basically to support some staffing and operations at like a contribution to that, for Into Our Hands to continue our role in the community to support local nonprofits, to help with leveraging and activating community giving, and to look at how we set up over time a place-based fund for the Indigo Shire. So our offer back to the Shire is really using our networks and our knowledge of philanthropy and growing philanthropy, that we want to attract more philanthropic funds for the Indigo Shire. We obviously offer charity and tax-deductible benefits through our structures and our community foundation model. We want to activate giving in the area and encourage more high net worth individuals and companies and businesses who are doing well to give locally. And we want to support community programs that raise capacity, that build resilience, and support local nonprofits with attracting their own philanthropic dollars and investments for their individual missions and needs. So Into Our Hands Community Foundation really exists to play a support role for community. We have a role in supporting resilience, particularly amongst community groups and nonprofits. And our vision over time is to build a community fund that can operate in perpetuity for our region and be a funding resource for our region to access in a really accessible way, and funds that are controlled and managed by a community board, which is how Into Our Hands Community Foundation is governed. Our strategic actions around that are really underpinned by this project we're looking at, which is called Our Prosperity Realised. Into Our Hands is the first organisation in the country to document levels of wealth in place and to look at what is transferring between generations over the next 50 years. So what we're looking at is a forecast of how much wealth does our region hold, and when and who is it transferring between over the next 50 years. We also have some strategies in place to grow place-based funds, and you might have heard about our Give Wangaratta Fund, and we're looking to grow more funds in place for our region. So we're looking at a fund for Myrtleford and in the Alpine Shire, and we're very interested to begin working in Indigo Shire more actively. And generally, we just want to grow community awareness about our mechanism and its benefits to community in terms of growing giving and developing private giving. So in terms of the Our Prosperity Realised project, I just want to share with the councillors at Indigo Shire the opportunity right now that is happening in Indigo. So over the next 5 years, $1.16 billion in assets will be transferred in Northeast Victoria when estates are passed on to loved ones. In Indigo Shire, as an individual kind of section of the Northeast, over 5 years, that figure is $267 million. And then if we look over the next 50 years, the figure for Indigo Shire is $4.5 billion in household assets are going to transfer from one generation to another. And that's peaking in 2041. But really the growth in those statistics and those figures has started to happen in the last 5 years. So we are in a period of the highest transfer of wealth between generations that the world has ever seen, and certainly Australia has ever seen.
Sarah, you got 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. So basically what we're saying to Indigo Shire is we want the council to act now in terms of supporting the community to understand that wealth transfer opportunity and to look at how we activate giving to ensure that some of that funding and some of that transfer is captured in community funds. And so we want councils to be ready with mechanisms and operations now to be able to capture that, to direct some of that money back to community giving and grants. So we're saying to community, you know, of that 267 million that's transferring in the next 5 years, what if as a community foundation, your local fund for Indigo captured just 1% of that? And what does it look like if we can direct some of that funding back to community projects and aspirations? And
hey,
so
Sarah, sorry, I've given you a bit over anyway.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. We have to be really strict with the time. But
okay.
I guess the thing to let you know tonight, Sarah, is we're not making decisions tonight. But we are council, and as I said, councillors have read your submission and listened to your very interesting. Actually, the figures are remarkable, aren't they, for the wealth transfer?
Yes.
So there is an opportunity for councillors to ask questions for clarification for their consideration in your submission. So do I have any questions from councillors tonight? And I will say that your submission was very detailed, so I'm not too surprised that you haven't got a lot of follow-up questions, because you did. Right. No, it was good. You were able to explain very clearly both what you do and what you're asking for. So, yeah, sorry it's such a limited time.
That's all right.
Normally councillors get 3 minutes to speak at a council meeting, so
okay,
we're a bit jealous.
Thank you for your time anyway.
Yeah, and obviously we'll be back in touch. You know, that this process now will go to council for us to make a decision about budget. And
can I just add that we have gone to the other two councils that we operate in, and both are supporting us with the budget submissions made. Okay. So this is part of a kind of regional effort to support the foundation to emerge into a sustainable independent model.
Thank you. So that's Wangaratta and Alpine.
That's right.
Wangaratta and Alpine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Look, thank you, Sarah. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Okay. Sorry. I'm trying to get some light to work. All right.
Next up, we have William McCall, who is just entering in now.
Is he there?
William, can you hear us?
William, you're on mute. Can you unmute and if you're there, just give us.
There we go.
How's that?
Very good. Hello, William. How are you?
Fine, yourself?
Good. Now, we can't actually see you. So do you want to put your video camera on, or are you happy just to speak without me?
I thought I had it on.
That's okay. Don't worry. We're always fumbling around with this stuff.
Okay.
So while you're looking for that, I'll just give you the heads up about how this is working. So we've got a very strict 5 minutes. I'll give you 30 seconds warning.
Mm-hmm.
And we're up to 4.5 minutes. We won't be making any decisions tonight. So this is really about having read your submission, just hearing any further information you want to provide to us or explanations. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, if councillors have any questions for clarification, they'll ask you. Otherwise, it'll be a pretty tight 5-minute session.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so when you're ready?
We're ready?
Yes.
Okay. I want to start by saying that not just speaking for myself tonight, but I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of other residents of Rutherglen, who this has been a big talking point amongst us. And one of the major expectations that we, the ratepayers, have of you, the Indigo Shire councillors, is that you act in the interest of the community as a whole, and not just in the interest of your own backyard. We expect you to make decisions on our behalf and act reasonably and fairly in a way that ensures public confidence, that our local government laws are not only administered justly, but their administration is seen to be just. In common law, that is known as natural justice or procedural fairness. Or more simply, it means that there should be fair play or a fair go. But this is not evident in Council's proposed capital expenditure for 21-22, in which there is gross inequity between proposed capital expenditure on non-essential recreational pathways and essential residential footpaths, roadside guttering and curbing. There is an equity of proposed capital expenditure across the Shire. Some 3.9 million is proposed to be spent on rail bike trails, while only just over 1/10 of that is proposed for residential footpaths, guttering and roadside curbing. Beechworth with 35%, Chiltern 22%, Yakandanda with 21% account for 77% of the total proposed capital expenditure designated for all Shire locations. This inequity has been evident in the last 8 Shire budgets. This all comes from council figures, nothing we've made up. Beechworth with 33, Yakandana with 23, Waganya with 12, and Kiowa with 10% account for 78% of their capital expenditure, which will be funded by Indigo Shire ratepayers, which includes Rutherglen. It is appropriate for ratepayers to be advised the sourcing of that funding revenue by location. There was definitely a lack of community consultation on this bike trail. There's no one I know of in Rutherglen that knew anything about all this, and that we were not getting the essential things on footpaths and things that we need here desperately. This is an enormous amount of money that's being spent, and state and federal governments could have been asked to fund vital infrastructure instead of a bike trail, which will not generate enough tourism to ever pay for itself. A good example would be the Sydney M7, where New South Wales government spent an extra $40 million putting in a bike path to run 40 kilometres along the length of that motorway. You could camp there and you would not be disturbed because people still ride their bikes on the M7. We also get to council's green credentials. Putting in a bike path, we're going through how many trees are we going to pull down? How much of habitat are we going to destroy by going through here, putting a bike path through? It beggars belief sometimes that we actually spend this much money just to do something like this when we have roads and footpaths that are non-existent, curb and guttering. One good example would be Harris Street in Rutherglen. It's almost third world, and you're welcome to go there any time and have a look. And I don't know how these people live there. I honestly don't. We think it's bad enough here. I know councillors, there's no party lines here, so you're all independents. And I think it's time that you all took your own independent view and voted for what is right, not for some get together and kumbaya stuff. I know the project is going through, but why can't we delay it for a few years? Why can't we say to the federal and state governments, we really need this money to improve, not just in Rutherglen, but right across our whole shire. We need to improve where elderly people here can't walk around. And unfortunately, even though I don't like to admit it, I am one of the elderly and have fallen over outside our place, which... 30
seconds.
30 seconds, okay. Yeah, I have fallen over and known quite a few people who have, because it is not safe. Watching our children, watching a vision impaired man, I always cry every time I see him go up the road to catch his bus to go to work, where he's got to walk on the road and tap his stick. And I think when it gets to it, the council, what you really need to do is make sure that we look after our elderly and our young, because our young going to school aren't getting a fair go. It is disgraceful, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to ask councillors if they've got any questions for clarification for William. Just checking out to see if there's any hands going up there. No. So William, just to let you know, I think I might have said originally, we're not making any decisions tonight. This is just really, giving people an opportunity to speak to their submissions. So very much appreciate that you've made the time and effort to do that.
Okay, that's fine.
And as I said, we have got your written submission as well. So, you're very clear in your views and what you're asking for. So we've got that there for our consideration. And so we're now in the process of getting the budget reviewed and ready for decision at the end of June. So as I said, thank you to you. And obviously you said you were representing other people who have spoken with you as well. So thanks to all of them for their interest and their input. And we'll absolutely take your submission into consideration.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
William.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
And Madam Mayor, next we have Karen Van Heusen.
Oh, and Karen's there. Sorry, Karen, I was writing. Hello, how are you? You're on mute, just to give you the heads up. Thank you very much for coming to present. As I'm saying to all of our presenters tonight, we do have obviously your submission, and that's been, you can take that as read. But we do appreciate you making the effort to come and speak with us. There's no decisions being made tonight. We're really listening to submitters. And I do acknowledge that you've actually got two separate submissions in tonight. One's for the budget, one's for the council plan and vision. I note that they're very similar and they cross over a bit. So we are giving people 5 minutes to speak. If you want an extra couple of minutes, just because they are very similar, you've written similar things. If you feel that you need an extra couple to refer it specifically to the council plan rather than the budget, that's fine. But otherwise, 5 minutes to speak to your. So do you feel like you need to speak separately to the two, or are you happy to put it all together? Okay, great. All right, so you've got 5 minutes, and I'm very strict. I'll give you 30-second warning, and then councillors will have a chance to ask for any questions for clarification.
Great.
Whenever you're ready. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I suppose I really just want to explain my reasoning behind, since you've read it. It's, 2020 shows the importance of planning for climate change and emergencies, and natural disasters are increasing in frequency and intensity. We've just seen that in the Dandenong Ranges. And the draft plan acknowledges the climate change and impacts that it has on council and residents with emergencies, but it also acknowledged that supporting community to adapt poses challenges for the Shire. So I don't believe it needs to be that hard, just support it. As you know, I'm a resident of the Indigo Valley. We had a fire in 2015. I've worked in recovery and I'm still in the EM sector, and I really take that seriously. So I've put that lens over when I've looked at the budget and the council plan. My concern's more that the changes in the EM Legislation Act in 2018 that came into effect for council in 2020 is where community plays a greater role. So Municipal Emergency Management Planning Committee must have a community member, it must take into consideration any community plans, and it must consult with the community with any planning, and that's part of your assurance. So it is a bigger role. But under the Act, also government, individuals, households, businesses, community groups and networks have a shared responsibility in planning preparedness and response. As you'll read on page 10 of the State Emergency Management Plan, it means that communities are more engaged, informed and involved. So it could be easier. So I'm just thinking, imagine if you were the Dandenong Rangers right now, or Cardinia Shire, they have 7 emergency management staff and you have a 0.5, and all this extra engagement is going to add a lot of pressure. So in page 10 of the State Emergency Management Plan, it talks about using community-led approaches. You've done this before. It was very successful. The example was our community-led recovery process in the Indigo Valley, which won a Fire Awareness Award in 2016. But just letting you know that since then, our valley has continued to build on their resilience relationships with agencies, calling on them for information when they need to inform their conversations. We have documented recently our risks, our strengths, our capability and capacity, and we've started discussions not only on emergencies, but food security, water security, power security, economic and ageing in place, but most importantly, how we would look after our vulnerable, those requiring more assistance during these times when council can't get to us, So this work also supports climate change adaptation. So communities can lead, and all communities have that opportunity, but I think there needs to be some area put into that. It'll assist them to face adversity, change, and it will help direct future projects. We'll achieve better outcomes in health and livability within the Shire. So I think having an EM and resilience lens over the areas you've already committed to will strengthen that work, and having an investment, I think, and that's the budget, into supporting this sort of work will make it a lot less difficult in the long run for council. It's good to see you putting money into different areas, but I believe there's an inequity there in building resilience and supporting that function for community to survive and thrive. And within that, working with smaller towns and localities should be seen as really important, because generally they have a higher risk at being more vulnerable during emergencies because of their lack of resources and facilities. So even if they are resilient. So it's about having those robust conversations without any agendas and allowing communities to do that. And I'm here to get that conversation started today. So happy to answer any questions.
Well done. You're even a minute early on time. Can I just say, Karen, that the Indigo Valley has shown remarkable resilience and initiative in how they've handled the post-fire recovery, and it is a great model. So, and I know you were heavily involved in that. So, thank you for all of it. Yeah, and all of your work in that. I think it's an opportunity to acknowledge that you've done a remarkable job there. So, do I have any questions from councillors for clarification? Or Karen, Larry, Councillor Goldsworthy, sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to cheat a bit here. It's not a question. I just want to acknowledge the contribution that you've made. It was very significant. It obviously took you a very long time to do. So thank you for putting it all in together, both for the budget and for the council plan. A lot of work. Well done.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question for clarification, which is when you're talking about your ask, if you like, obviously you're talking about looking at it through that lens of community engagement and how important that is, as you rightly say. But in terms of the budget spend, what is it that you actually would like to see happen that would make you feel that we were getting that right?
Well, I don't know how much that costs, but I'm looking at, you've got one staff member as a 0.5.
Yeah.
And a great example was an email went out to emergency management coordinators, and this is common across all councils that are regional, for support in the Yarra Ranges that came out on Friday. Well, I know I don't work Friday, Chris at your Shire doesn't work Friday, and Paul at Wodonga doesn't work Friday, so we didn't get that message until Tuesday. Yarra Ranges needed support, so we haven't got that capability right across the state and right across that sector, and I think it's because it hasn't been business as usual in the past, and I think it can be embedded into business as usual, and I just think it needs. I'm not a budget worker, so that's not
it's just
but I think just that greater
resourcing
that area.
Yeah,
okay. will actually pay off for council because it'll have a lot less work in the long run, I think.
Yep. And Di, you've got a question? Councillor Shepherd, sorry.
I was just wondering whether there was an opportunity then for a sharing across a number of shire. If that's one area where we could look at sharing this space instead of us all trying to do similar things. If we've all got 0.5s, where there's an opportunity to share that space and get things happening with the same sort of lens across the area, whether that's something we could talk about.
We do already. We've just had $125,000 across Towong, Indigo and Alpine. We have been, the emergency management coordinators, we realised this before the fires, that we had a very small EM staff. And so we had some funding to actually look at how we might do that to support each other. But if we're all hit at the same time, that's not going to help. We need to actually bolster that as well.
And look, just again, I guess just to make the comment that it is something, certainly we're advocating very strongly around this with federal and state entities to say, well, we're so not resourced well enough to both prepare for and recover from, natural disasters. So, your points are well made, and I think it's very helpful for us to be able to, use your example as exactly what can happen when we get it right and when we've got the resourcing to do that. So,
and I've been talking to some communities in the Yarra Ranges because I lived there for 20 years, so all my friends have been impacted, and a lot of them, and I utilise it by looking at what we have in place in our councils. You would open a relief centre in a larger town, obviously, because that's where you can staff it. But these communities are going, we don't want to travel out in amongst all of those trees because that makes us more vulnerable again. We need to be able to do within. And so I've been talking to them about how they actually step up as communities. So if we can encourage communities to do that, council doesn't have to bring the whole fort with them. They just might need to bring orange juice, it's better.
So look, are there any other questions for clarification? Karen, thank you very much. And yeah, very much appreciate your input. And we'll be moving forward to make the decision at the end of June at the council meeting on the budget and the council plan. So yeah, great to have your input on that.
Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. Okay. Anna Nielsen, here comes Anna.
Anna, not too sure if you can hear us. You're on mute and your camera is off. So
Can
if
you
you can
unmute Anna, just so we can hear you? Hello, Anna, can you hear us? When you're ready, if you can unmute your microphone, then even if we can't see you, we can certainly hear you.
She might need some directions on how to unmute.
Yeah, so if you look down on the bottom of your screen, Anna, you might see the microphone there, microphone icon, and it would have a red line through it. And if you tap on that, that would unmute you. Greg, can the host unmute Anna? No, not in the way we're set
No, you
up.
can't. You can ask them to unmute, but you can't do it from the host.
So you can mute everybody, but not one.
Otherwise, you could actually unmute them when they don't want you to. You might hear something they don't want you to hear in their personal house or something.
So, Madam Mayor, what I would suggest I do is I might give Anna a quick call, and I've just sent a message to our next submitter, Robin, and said we'll get him in early.
Okay.
So we might bring Robin McLeish in and hear from Robin, and that will give me a few minutes to ring Anna and sort that out.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously the mute buttons are on different locations too for Apple in comparison to Microsoft.
Yep. So we've got Robin arriving, and Robin, it says you're in the room, but you're on mute and we can't see you. So if you're able to at least unmute, we'll be able to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Hello. Welcome, Robin. It's hard to hear you actually. Can you move a bit closer to the microphone?
Yes, I can.
Can you pull the string tighter?
Yes.
Okay, if you can move closer. Robin, just to give you just some clarification, you've got 5 minutes to talk to your submission. Obviously, you made a long, well, I shouldn't say long, but a number of points in your submission. So just so you know, we have read that. We've all been given that. So you can take that as read and use the 5 minutes to really highlight the things that you feel we really need to focus on. I'll give you a 30-second warning when we get to 4.5 minutes, and councillors will have an opportunity to ask questions for clarification at the end of that. So when you're ready, and we can't actually see you, so if you want to turn your camera on, that'd be great, but as long as we can hear you, that's really the main thing. It's very hard to hear you, Robin. I wonder if you need to turn your volume up maybe?
If I'm ready to work.
Still hard to hear you. Can you turn your volume up at all? Such a noise. We're so sorry, Robin. I mean, of course, we'd much rather be meeting in person, and we're all totally over Zoom. However, we still have to abide by the rules. So,
if you can hear me, that's satisfactory. You don't need to see me. You've seen me before. I haven't changed.
Can I just get a thumbs up from councillors that can hear Robin? Yeah, no, it's very, very, very faint and very hard to hear. So have you got, are you on a laptop or an iPad, Robin?
I know I'm on a desktop.
Yeah, it is hard to hear you. Are you able to turn your volume up?
Yeah, I can, but I thought it was pretty well.
Just see if you can get it. Sometimes if you get it up to the highest, it helps.
But Robin turning his volume up won't help us at all. It's to do with the microphone and the access to the microphone. So if you can move closer to it, maybe.
Okay.
Well, we can't move much closer to it unless I get down and talk directly.
Okay. I'm just going to check in with councillors again. Can you just introduce yourself, Robin? We'll see if we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to make a submission report. Can you hear that?
Almost, like it's not bad. We'll just have to listen very carefully. So go ahead, and if we need to stop you, I will. If I really feel like nobody can hear you, I'll let you know.
I haven't done it on purpose so that can get your attention, but this is the best I can do at the moment. All right. At this stage, I'll just do a bit of housekeeping, talk about the budget paper itself. I found it most disappointing, most unprofessional, and somewhat discourteous to the people that you sent it out to. The fact that it had some spelling and typographical errors in it was unsatisfactory, and the financials, somewhere along the line, we got all out of track with how to add the noise, with the statement that we were going to get 5 billion from the Commonwealth government in grants and 438 million from the state government is totally erroneous. Take off 3 notes and we're just about where we should be. But we did do the rates revenue that was in-house. And of course, we messed that up too. We got 12.8 billion for that. So again, take the 3 notes up, take it back to 12.8. And we're getting pretty close to it. I can't tell you where to look for these problems because nobody put page numbers in the document. How in heaven's name did somebody send the document out for scrutiny by people in the public without giving them the opportunity to be able to identify the pages where the problems were? Anyway, that's it. On the budget itself, we're taking great pride. It's a balanced budget. And we're at a stage where we're very close to submitting this budget to state government. So the fact that we've made submissions are really fruitless, because if it's anything more difficult than clearing a drain or fixing a pothole, it's doubtful that it will be looked at. Now, submissions will go to next year's budget, perhaps. If we're going to have a real budget, we should start and ask people to make submissions in about February, so they can be built into the budget as it's developed. What we seem to have now is we have a budget that demonstrates what the council wants, not what the community needs. So going on to the budget, the content of the budget itself, I'm concerned, where are the uncompleted projects? We've got 2 major projects that are in the limbo at the moment. If I go to the Chiltern Rail Shed, that was a joint project between Big Track and Indigo Shire, and Big Track has spent $1 million to refurbish the rail shed and to build a shower and toilet block.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, I've just got Anna here. I've lost track of where the meeting is up to.
Robin's still speaking. Robin's speaking to us. So Anna will have to wait.
Ready?
Apologies, Robin.
That's all right. We've got a situation where Big Rail have done what was required of them. They've set it all up with a refurb.
Who? I've lost Robin altogether.
Yeah, yep. I think Greg just cut him out.
Greg, have you cut Robin out?
Hello, have I got you now?
Who are you talking to, Greg?
How am I going now? Have I got you back?
Who are you speaking to, Greg?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, have I got you now?
You've got me, but we've lost Robin and we don't have Anna. Robin was mid-sentence.
My apologies. I'm just bringing Robin back in now.
Thank you.
My apologies, Robin. I'll just let you finish.
I'll add on some time for you, Robin. You'll have to unmute again. You're still on mute, Robin. And apologies for this technical glitch. Still can't hear you, Robin. You've still got a mute button on. No. Can you talk to Robin at all, Greg? Robin, you're back.
Okay.
Robin, sincere apologies. You were talking about the Chiltern Goods Shed when you got cut off.
Yes. The Chiltern Goods Shed was established so that the cyclists could then, after they'd showered and changed and recovered their cycles, go and load onto the train and go back to where they are. There has been no trainloads of cyclists. There has been no use of the somewhat expensive change rooms, etc. I see this as council's responsibility. Big Track have done their bit. Now it's time for us to come up and make it work. If it's not going to work, tell us it's not going to work, and give those people who are trying to run the community CAC meeting, the community access meeting, it's too much for them. They need help. So that's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
The Beachwood Rail Shed is the second one. This was a project that sought to upgrade the Beachwood Rail Shed and turn it into a retail commercial centre. And it started with a project cost of $480,000, equally divided between government grant and our contribution from council. It's now overspent. It's heading past $700,000, and because it needs toilets, if it's going to be a retail outlet, it needs something in the order of $1 million to complete it. We need information as to what is going to happen with that project. I've spoken to the CEO at open forum in council meetings and asked him to prepare a post-completion report for these projects that identified what we've achieved in terms of the stated financial principles built into the project. He has refused on the basis that the grant submitter does not require that information. The grant submitter, of course, is the state government. I'm just bringing it to the attention that the state government doesn't pay your wages, or if you're a council staff member or a council executive. We do. We pay your wages, and we want to know what has happened to the money that we've contributed out of our rates to these particular projects. So
30 seconds, Robin, left to go.
Okay, there was a response that said that whilst we hadn't created all the financial benefits, we've created a valuable asset. There's mixed feeling in the town as to whether it's a valuable asset or whether it would have been much more valuable to leave it as a heritage listed or a heritage building rather, that people could appreciate its historic significance. That's it. I'm thinking.
Thank you, Robin. So I'll open the floor up to councillors. Do councillors have any questions for clarification for Robin? Just checking. Anyone? Okay. Oops, sorry. All right. So thank you, Robin. As I said, we have your submissions, and they obviously you've gone into detail on the various issues that you've raised with us. So thank you for putting in that time and effort, and for being willing to come and address us tonight. And again, I apologise for the glitches with the technology, and we are very much looking forward to when we can have our community members meet face to face with us for council meetings. So thank you again, and we will be determining the budget on the 29th of June at the council meeting there. So it's great to have had your input again and your interest. So I'll say goodbye to Robin, and I think we're waiting on Anna.
Yes, hello. Hang on, Anna, there we go. I've got Anna on speakerphone, Madam Mayor.
Okay, well, we've still got Robin in the room, I think, so I'll wait for Robin to leave. Okay, so we'll listen just through the phone. Is that right, Jane? All right. So Anna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, good. Welcome, Anna. The format for tonight is that you have 5 minutes to talk to your submission. We've read your submission, so we've all seen that. Just use the 5 minutes to give us a bit of a rundown on what it is that you really want us to focus on. And I'll give you a 30-second warning when we get to 4.5 minutes, and then councillors will have an opportunity to ask you any questions. And we won't be making any decisions tonight. We'll just be taking it into account. All right?
Yep. Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Sorry for the disruption.
That's fine, Anna.
Yeah. So good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Nielsen. And thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I was concerned and appalled when I read the council's draft budget plan. The unbalanced amount of money allocated for cycle paths compared to footpaths is unequitable and certainly not fair. I understand that tourism is very important to the Shire, but so is basic infrastructure. And let's face it, we have more pedestrians than cyclists in the Shire. I live in Murray Street in Rutherglen, which is very busy given its proximity to Main Street. We also have a primary school, a church, and a church hall. The church hall is very busy after school as they hold children's dance classes. It is a safety concern that there are no footpaths from Murphy Street to Fortune Street. Pedestrians, school children, walk on the road, as well as elderly residents with their walkers, mobilities and scooters. Safety and well-being is paramount to our community and therefore needs to be of primary importance. To me, it's all about safety, and I don't think this road is terribly safe. Traffic is constant along Murray Street with buses, school traffic, local traffic and caravans. So it's imperative that we have safe footpaths as soon as possible. I'd also like to mention the drainage problem in Murray Street. We have a small section of Murray Street, about 300 metres from Murray to Fortune Street, that has no curb and guttering. This is a problem during heavy rain as the water floods our properties, damages to gardens, makes a hell of a mess, and this also creates muddy and unstable surfaces along the nature strip, which increases the risk to pedestrians, particularly people using mobility scooters, walking frames and prams. So it would be much appreciated if the residents it would be much appreciated by the residents in Murray Street if this could be rectified also. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Anna. All right, so councillors, do I have any questions for clarification for Anna?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I'm just checking to see if any of the councillors have any questions for you, Anna. Can you hear me? Yeah. So I'm just checking because I've got to look around all the Zoom squares to see if anyone's got their hand up.
Sure.
Stage, no, I don't see any hands up. So as I said, Anna, we have got your submission in writing as well. So you know, you've made your case clear, and councillors have got that that submission as well as what you've said tonight. So we, as I said to you, we're not making decisions tonight. We're really here just to hear the submissions, and we'll be making a decision about the budget at the end of June when we've considered all the different submissions that we've had. So we've had quite a lot, but we very much appreciate you taking the time and effort both to write to us and to present to us tonight.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Jane, is Anna gone? Okay, so we've got no one in the no one else to submit, and we're still being live streamed, councillors. So at this stage, we've heard from all our submitters, and unless there's any particular issue somebody needs to raise in relation to that, then I'm going to call the meeting to a close and thank you all for your attendance. And I'll leave Director Pinkerton to take us out of the meeting.